Low-calorie diets harm athletes' performance and health. Low-calorie diets harm athletes' performance and health. You're listening to a NeuroScience news reading presented by Hakeem Ali Bokus Alexander here on Noom Vibe, presented for World Reading Club in association with Uniquilibrium. This edition's reading focus comes to us from neurosciencenews.com, and it is titled Low-Calorie Diets Harm Athletes' Performance and Health. And it's what's interesting about this particular neuroscience news reading is that I had this happened to me recently, just the other day, maybe 2 days ago. My fitness trainer and coach, Catherine Katie Wickoff, was a guest here on Noom Vibe with me. We had a little mastermind, a strategy session where we talked about her training me and all kinds of other stuff that we found out we had in common, being yoga teachers and so on. But one of the things we discussed was how from the first time she trained with me to the next week, how my fitness level completely, it dropped a lot. It was still intense. It was still pretty high level, but from her, she and I, of course, I noticed it was very difficult. And so this Neuroscience News reading article actually came to me on July 16th, so 2 weeks ago, which is interesting because it came to me right around the time when I first trained with her. And then from that time, I thought, okay, I'm going to stop with so much of these carbs, or at least I thought I was, but I really don't eat a lot of carbs. So I don't know what I was thinking. So this, as is usual with me, this article came in at a very serendipitous time because it reminded me that it's a big no-no for me to cut back on a lot of my carbs, which I was attempting just to cut back on calories, but it's no good. I was doing just fine. And from what I can tell, because I cold read these articles, this is specifically written for women, but I had the same experience. I'm sure that it's probably geared towards women because that's what they women are whom they used for their sample to do the either. I don't know what the article is going to say because, like I said, I do this cold reading. Right? It's just been in my inbox for 2 weeks now, from July 16th. So let's get into it. It's actually it is titled what you would see here on Noom Vibe and later on Spreaker and wherever else my podcasts are found. It's titled Low Calorie Diets Harm Athletes' Performance and Health. And so let's take a listen here what it says. So it's under the categories of featured in Neuroscience from July 16th, 2024. Summary: female athletes consuming only half their caloric needs for 14 days experienced significant drops in performance and muscle mass. This low energy availability also weakened their immune systems. Okay, I have to stop right away, right there. Also, I actually, when I was in China, I had a personal experience with that where I was training capoeira, this martial art, with my friend that I met out there, Chase, who also was a guest on here a little while ago with me, maybe about a year ago. I don't know how long it was. But I forgot to eat anyway because of that, and we were training, and it didn't dawn on me until after it happened. But I all of a sudden got deathly ill. It was terrible. But so I can. This is another thing I can relate to as well. So again, summary says female athletes consuming only half their caloric needs for 14 days experienced significant drops in performance and muscle mass. This low energy availability also weakened their immune systems. The harmful effects couldn't be reversed by short-term refeeding, highlighting the risks of weight loss practices in sports. The findings emphasize the need for awareness and better support for athletes. I mean, this couldn't be more, uh, pertinent right now, more relevant right now. And it's pretty incredible. And like I said, the sample they probably use, that's why it's specifically talking about women, but it just happened to me recently and I'm just now recovering from it. Hello,
Hi,
Christina, how do you do?
I'm doing well. This subject is actually on low-calorie diets. I was just wanting to get some tips because I work out and I'm trying to eat a little bit more healthier. Hmm.
Yeah, so what,
Hello?
it depends on what kind of training and if you have any medical conditions and things like that. There's a
Yes,
lot of
I
factors that go into it.
yes, I have epilepsy and I take a medication, and I recently found out from my medication I could gain weight. So I
Yeah,
do.
that's rather typical with a lot of the medications because of the steady state peak level that they have to get to in your blood in order for it to be effective, especially something like epilepsy where it has to cross the blood-brain barrier.
Yes. Mm.
But yeah, that's I mean, the thing is you want to eat healthier. The question I would have to ask is, what do you think about your diet that you're eating right now that is not healthy, and have you consulted your physician or a physician about this already? Hello, hello, hello. I'm not hearing you, Christine. All right, well, that would be the question that I would ask if we get Christina back. Sometimes we have a little bit of glitch here, but that would be very important to know. Um, Christina, if because I'm not hearing you right now, maybe you want to drop out of the queue here and come back.
Hello?
Oh, I think I kind of hear you. Oh, there you go. I
Yes,
can hear
now
you now.
I hear you.
But yeah, so the question was, have you consulted a physician about it? And also, what makes you think that because you said that you want some tips on eating healthier, but what about your diet, or what do you know about it that you say you might think
Oh,
is unhealthy that you need to eat healthier?
because I work out for like an hour, 2 hours every day. And then when I stop working out for like a little period of time, I noticed that I gained weight.
Okay, so my question first would be, why are you working out for so long? Why 2 hours? Why up to 2 hours a day?
For stress reliever on top of that.
And what, I mean, because that's a lot. And, you
Sometimes
know,
like when I get on a treadmill, like it doesn't feel like a workout, so I don't really notice like I did 2 hours.
okay, so, okay, good. So that's another thing. What kind of workout? So you're saying that you go and you walk or run on the treadmill for a few hours.
On a treadmill for like 3.5 speed and
Okay,
10 incline.
okay. I mean, that's not so bad. I mean, it's a good moderate workout. It's not too bad. Okay.
Mhm.
And so what about, you said you feel like you're putting on weight. What about your food intake? That's, is there
Oh,
anything that
like
you know of that you're eating that
I
you think could
started
be?
I started eating more at home, like veggies, meat, stuff like that. Nothing unhealthy, nothing like on even oil. I boil eggs now. I don't eat as butter like I used to anymore. So I'm hoping this time
I would,
around it's
I would,
going to
I would,
stay off.
I would argue,
I'm sorry?
Christina, that butter is not. I would argue, Christina, that butter is not bad. If it's real butter, it's not a bad thing to use to scramble your eggs with, or coconut oil or something like that. I would say that that's not a necessarily a
Um,
bad thing. Oils in general, if it's margarine, that's a different story. But again, are you
no,
eating processed foods? Like, are you eating cupcakes and candies, and are
no,
you drinking
no,
soda? That's what I want to.
no, no. I drink water.
Well, that's good. And so the the only thing is that you should consult with your physician about the medication and see what the average is on the weight uptake for that, because probably the most likely culprit, and sometimes there's not very much you can do about that except for change the kind of workouts that you're doing. Like one thing that actually helps to have your body composition change, even though your weight might not decrease, is by doing resistance training exercises, meaning you can do squats and lunges with your body weight and start doing push-ups and crunches and things like that instead of simply just
Be
walking on a
on
treadmill.
treadmill.
When you change what you're doing as your exercise routine,
Uh-huh.
especially when you add resistance and you build muscle, then your body will change the fat composition because of the fact that muscle takes a lot more energy. It consumes more energy. It's like putting on more organs. It's something that needs more energy, and so your body will start to consume the calories and the fat calories. I mean, that's the one thing. I can't give any advice on the medication or anything like that, but I've just seen that, and I know of that as something being very typical across a wide variety of different kind of medications is weight gain.
I
And it's
was,
just because, yeah, it targets a lot of the body.
mm, do you have any like tips to like
For
help?
for nutrition,
Yes.
no, not specifically because I, unless I did a deeper assessment with you, I couldn't really say what it is that you need. But I can say that one thing just from hearing what you're saying is if what you're telling me is true, you don't really need to change your diet. You need to change the type of exercise that you're doing to shock your body a little bit more and change your body composition. If you feel like, because the one thing that you said is that you feel like you're putting on weight, and I would say to a lot of people, and some people have heard me say this before, but weight loss is not always a way to think about your fitness journey.
Hmm.
You could think about your fitness journey as fat reduction, and maybe that's a better term because oftentimes, like for example, I've been going to the gym and I've been doing resistance training, and my body weight went up, but that's because my muscle mass increased. My muscle mass tends to increase very rapidly to do resistance training. So that's with me.
I
Well,
will try and start I will try and start doing the squats, and I will start doing the planks and see if that would help, and see if
yeah,
that will help me like in long term. But I did do like planks last year, like a lot of jumping jacks, all of that, but still like for some reason with all that work, and when I work out, and especially when I put my mind to something, I do it very like consistently. And I went on vacation, and I would thought like because of so much like work I did, I wouldn't
all right.
gain some, and I wouldn't gain the weight back, but for some reason it like came back, and when the weight came back and it went away. That's why I wanted to see like if you had any like to help me like stay away even on vacation. Hello? Hello?
Yeah. Hello, 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 hello.
Yeah,
Hi there.
it's coming in and out,
Yeah. Let me
and
see what I can do here.
it's raining. Yay. Of course. It has to rain tonight.
I mean, it's a very specific thing about, you know, what you're doing. All I can say, like I said before, was to look at doing compound movements, meaning upper and lower body movements if you can at the same time. I would focus on very carefully and slowly moving into doing squats with your own body weight, doing lunges with your own body weight, and doing push-ups and crunches, like really basic stuff. Those are the basic, most well-known calisthenics or body weight exercises that anybody can conceive of. And when I say push-ups too, um,
I
it
try
doesn't
push-ups, but I don't have that much like strength, upper strength to
good.
do it.
I'm glad that you brought that up because that's what I'm going to address right now. Is if you simply put yourself into a plank position, which is the top of a push-up, right? So where
Mm-hmm.
your body is straight and your arms are straight, right?
Yeah.
Without bending your elbows yet, okay? When you're
Mm-hmm.
at the top position of the push-up, your arms are all the way straight, your body's all the way straight, your knees are not on the floor, it's just your toes, and your palms of your hands on the floor with your arms straight. From that position, you just slowly start to bend
Mm-hmm.
your elbows going towards the floor. You don't drop down into it fast. You just slowly start going down. And as soon as you feel the point where you're like, if I go any lower than this, I'm not going to be able to push myself up, that's where you push up from. So this is a modified push-ups that's better than the so-called girl push-ups that people often tell you to do with your knees on the floor. You start at the top position, your arms completely straight, your toes on the floor, your legs are straight, so you have a plank, a straight line from your head down to your toes, and you just slowly start to bend your elbows, even if it's a tiny bit, and then you push up from there. That is a push up. And so you can start there. That's a modified version, a way that you can do those push ups. You just bend your elbows a little bit and then push back up from there. And then, like, the only other things, like I said, are slowly but carefully, especially if you don't do these a lot, slowly, the same thing. Start in the lunges, you step forward, and you slowly start going down as low as you can. When you get to a point where you feel like that's as low as you're going to go without being too strenuous on yourself, then you just push back up from the lunge from there and then switch legs. Same thing with the squats. You get into a nice position where your feet are symmetrical. You start to sit your butt down like you're trying to sit in a chair. As soon as you get to the lowest point where you feel like that's going to be, you push up from there. All the exercises should be like that. Is that you start where you are and then you'll improve later. Now, the last thing I'll tell you about this is that I would recommend that you have to give yourself about 8 weeks. So that's 2 months before you start seeing any significant
Results.
change in your body. You have to give at least 8 weeks and staying on the same food regimen and everything that you're doing. But you can do these things in addition to what you're doing on the treadmill. Maybe take a few minutes off that treadmill. Maybe take 30 minutes off that treadmill to work on slowly working into those exercises. But that's what I can tell you. I can't really give you any specific
No, I
advice more than
appreciate
that.
you even telling me that. I appreciate the fact that you even talking to me about it. That helped a lot for me actually. And I
Good.
will tomorrow I'm gonna do squats, I'll do some and for like a week I will do that and see if that will help me. So like when I go on vacation, for example, I won't gain weight because it's
So,
like every woman like works out and she goes on vacation and she ends up gaining weight.
let's talk about this real quick, Christina. I did a talk about this. I was going to mention this earlier, but this whole idea of using these words loss and gain when it comes to your body fat. You
Mhm.
say gain weight and lose weight. I'm going to argue, as a person who studies clinical hypnosis and and maybe knows a little bit of a thing or two about the subconscious mind, that
Okay.
using the words loss and gain when it comes to your body weight is not a good idea. And here's why. Psychologically, here's the result. Psychologically, when you talk about losing weight, you're basically subconsciously setting yourself up to get that weight back. Because the word loss is programmed into us and it's most usually used almost always with things that we want back. We say, I lost $20 at the casino if you do that sort of thing, or I lost $20 when it it fell out of my pocket, or I lost money in the stock market, or I my dog ran away. I lost my dog. When a person that you care about passes away, you say, I lost a loved one. I lost my turtle. I lost my keys. I lost my shoes. Lost, the word loss is most often used with things that we want back. So when we start using it, when we talk about, I want to lose weight, that's not really what we mean. We really mean that we want to manage our body weight. We want to decrease our body
I
fat. We want
just
to
like
become
want to
more fit.
be.
We want to, yeah.
My goal
Yeah.
is
So,
to be like healthy.
yes.
My
And
goal is
so I
to
think that just
be
changing the
healthy and
terminology.
not being
Yeah.
worried about it.
Yeah, we don't want to lose weight. We don't
Just
want to
healthy,
lose fat.
like without.
Yeah, we're subconsciously going to want to bring that back. That's what I mean. And then using the word gain, you're not really gaining anything. It's a misnomer. You know, if you are getting something that you don't want, that's not considered a gain. You don't gain a disease, right? You don't gain a broken bone. You don't gain cancer. So why do we use it with weight? Gain is a word that we use with something that increases that we usually desire. So in the fitness industry, these words gain and loss are used, I think, very inappropriately. So I would just say be mindful of that and speak
I hear it
differently
all
of
the
it. Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I hear it all the time when I used to go to the public gym. That's why, I guess
Right.
that's
That's what
why
I'm
I'm
saying. It's
using that.
normal. No, you're not alone in that. It's normal. It's statistically most frequent. Pretty much everybody says that, and no one questions why they're saying what they're saying. That's so I'm presenting that here to you and to everybody else who's listening. This is something that I've pondered for a very long time, and all I'm saying is just think about changing the words that you use with that. Instead say I want to manage my body weight, I want to become more fit, I want to be healthier. That's it. That's all.
Yeah, I just want to be healthier, and not worry
So
about
yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you
So
so
Christina,
much.
is there yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. Good to meet you.
Great to meet you as well. My sister is here. That's I was gonna say. What other times are you on?
I I am kind of known as the hitman, Hitman, Hakeem in the morning, afternoon, or night, because I never know when I'm going to be on here morning, afternoon, or night. So I couldn't really tell you that.
Oh,
So you'll see my notifications come up. I saw that you followed me, so that's when it'll
yes.
happen. But usually it's going to be sometime in the evenings, maybe. So that's all that it is. I mean, I'm not that organized. There's other things that I do that are organized, but coming online for stuff for this, I haven't quite gotten it down yet, although it's probably going to be a good idea as I become more efficient with the other parts of my schedule. So, all
Okay.
right, Christina. All right. So that was Christina. She just had some questions about um, improving her body composition or changing it with diet. I just gave a few tips for some exercises to do just based on what she said about the kind of exercise that she was doing which is a lot of time on the treadmill. And I wouldn't say stop doing that, especially if it's good for what she said for stress relief. I would just add some different things, maybe take a little bit of that time away from the treadmill to do these different resistance exercises. And where I left off was uh, in this article that's, as people here on Noon Vibe can see, the title is Low-Calorie Diets Harm Athletes' Performance and Health. This article from NeuroScienceNews.com was specifically talking to women because I believe that, as far as I know, I do cold reading of the articles. As far as I can tell, it has to do with female athletes, but it actually personally applies to me because I recently noticed a sharp decline in my athletic performance with my personal trainer from week 1 to week 2 because I attempted to cut out my carbs and it didn't do me any good. And today I went back into the gym and I noticed my performance increased, but it's also because I didn't skip out on the carbs or the calories. And my body just said, hey, let's do this. And I actually recorded it without stopping the camera at all, the full 5 minute rounds with the 1 minute break in between. And I'm going to use that as a background video for a talk that I do later and put it on my YouTube channel, which is the same as my handle here on Noomvibe, which is Uniquilibrium, a combination of the words unique and equilibrium. A clever word, if I do say so myself, that only takes away the letter E from both of those words because they actually share letters quite serendipitously there. It's a fantastic combination of words. I don't know how the heck I came up with it, but Uniquilibrium, pretty awesome. So back to this NeuroScience News article. The key facts here, they list: 1, performance drop. Low-calorie intake led to a 7.7% drop in 20-minute cycling performance. 2, muscle loss. Athletes lost an average of 4% body weight, half of which was muscle. Wah, 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 that's not good. That's not what I'm trying to do. And 3, immune impact. Increased stress. What the heck is going on? Some weird ad came on the screen. Number 3, immune impact. Increased stress hormone levels and immune cell stress from low-calorie intake. The source, University of Copenhagen. I love Copenhagen because I'm a physics nerd, and like there's a lot of stuff that went on in Copenhagen, like the Copenhagen interpretation of the Schrodinger equation, and I mean, there's some really cool stuff. Anyway, let me not get caught on there and geek out, but all right, so the source, University of Copenhagen, or Copenhagen. Continuing, whether selected to swim, row, or run in the Olympics, or gearing up to ride in the Tour de France, achieving the right weight has been a focal point of many elite athletes for decades. It could be to look lean and mean in a swimsuit or jersey, or to qualify for a certain weight category. But there is also a belief that losing weight enhances performance. So now, this belief is not completely unfounded, though, because I remember when I had some kidney issues years ago, and I went on a completely vegan diet for 8.5 months because I had no other thing that I thought would be a good idea to do. My body weight decreased dramatically, but also my performance went up once I got used to it. I was like super lightning fast because of it. So certain parts of my performance went up, although after a while I did notice, as I have noticed recently when I did a calorie drop, that I felt like I was having an asthma attack. Like just the other day, I kept on going with my trainer, Katie, mostly because she was there and I didn't want to wimp out on it. Like I'm just that kind of person. Somebody's watching me. That's why I hired her, because, just to be held accountable. I didn't stop. I kept going as much as I could, but she noticed it and I definitely noticed it when we're training. But at first, yeah, it really you can take a hit from that. So let's continue with this article here. Low-calorie diets harm athletes' performance and health. Okay, so as such, it is a widespread phenomenon among athletes, especially in endurance sports, like what I do, kickboxing, martial arts, especially in endurance sports like running, swimming, cycling, and rowing, to reduce their dietary intake in the run-up to competition, which is, I'm going to say that's bad. It's probably better to increase some of those calories in the run-up to the competition. Continuing. It is particularly problematic among female endurance athletes. Many athletes focus heavily on weight in their respective sports. Consequently, they tend to go into short-term but intense periods of weight loss with the expectation of performing better, says Professor Ylva Helston of the University of Copenhagen's Department of Nutrition, Exercise and Sports. So Ylva Helston of the University of Copenhagen's Department of Nutrition, Exercise and Sports. She and PhD student Jan Sommer Jeppesen, is it Jan? Okay, so it's spelled Jan. So is it Jan Sommer Jeppesen or Jan Sommer Jeppesen? Okay, I'm going to say Jan Sommer Jeppesen. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's my best go. So she and PhD student Jan Sommer Jeppesen are two of the researchers behind a new study on the effects of low energy availability among female athletes. The paper is published in the journal Redox biology. Redox. That's oxidative reduction for you who are muggles of chemistry, don't know chemistry. It's a redox reaction. Um, Continuing. We know, like that explains anything, right? By me even saying that. uh, so basically, oxidative reduction doesn't always have to do with oxygen. It's simply the stealing of an electron. So sometimes there are atoms and molecules who themselves are already oxidized, which means they're positively charged because they're missing an electron that usually balances out the charges on them. They go around stealing electrons from other atoms and molecules, and that's an oxidative reduction in the simplest form that I can dig up right now. But continuing. We know that the phenomenon of not eating enough is associated with many things that are harmful to health, including missed periods, compromised bone health, and changes in metabolism. But there is still plenty that we don't know. As such, we investigated some of the possible consequences more closely, says Yepesen, who is the study's lead author. Reduced cycling performance. And if you heard my conversation from a couple days ago with my trainer, Miss Catherine Katie Wickoff, we talked about that, how my performance went down. And it was just a week of me reducing my calories, specifically carbs. And when I first mentioned that to her at the gym, she says, "Oh yeah, that's part of it." Um, but I'm back on the up and up, and I recorded it today. I was training by myself, and also because the camera was there, I did put a little bit more into it. But there are some points where I had to slow it down a little bit. But that'll be up later on my YouTube channel, Unique Equilibrium. So continuing. For the study, the researchers recruited 12 female triathletes, all of whom had a normal energy intake. During one part of the trial, the athletes were given enough calories for 14 days, after which their performance was tested. The same athletes also went through a 14-day period during which they consumed only about 50% of their energy needs while sticking to their normal intensive training schedule. During the period with insufficient calories, athletes lost an average of roughly 4% of their body weight, about half of which was muscle mass, and they experienced a loss in performance. I have to say again, something I know I keep interjecting here in this article, but I think it's a good thing because I don't want to just be reading like a robot all the time. But I also noticed just something aesthetically, looking in the mirror, my body tends to rebound pretty quickly from a lot of things. But you would think this is counterintuitive, but I increased my calorie intake, I would say a lot, because I wanted to compensate because I was thinking to myself, man, my performance really suffered from this. And so I ate a lot of food, a lot of really good high quality proteins. I went to Whole Foods and I had some fruit and what else did I eat? Oh, I bought these muffins, but I didn't eat them yet. I'm saving them for tomorrow, or later tonight, or whatever. I know it's late, right? People say don't eat at night, but I'm like that. But I also I looked in the mirror and my body actually looks more muscular and stronger. So you would think it's counterintuitive, but I actually positively aesthetically changed my body composition by eating more calories and just continue my workout. I noticed my performance went up a little bit. It was better from 2 days ago, and then also from Monday. So it was better than Wednesday, and even way better than Monday when I trained with my trainer, Katie. All right, so continuing. So this article, I'm just also just relaying this because I've just noticed a lot of similarities between this article now as I'm cold reading it and what actually happened with me. I mean, that's why I'm also reading this again, this right now, even though it landed in my inbox 2 weeks ago. I never read it. I just saw it and I thought, oh, that's really good. That would be a good one to continue on my World Reading Club series on Noom Vibe because, of course, Noom Vibe, it's geared towards health and fitness, specifically, exercise science, fitness, and the mental game, the psychological, behavioral part of fitness and exercise. So, but I don't know why I didn't read it right away. But hey, everything happens for a reason, and here we are. So continuing, the 14 days of insufficient food intake reduced their performance by 7.7% in a 20-minute time trial on a bike, which is quite significant. And during a more intense short-term test, their performance slid by as much as 18%. So there is no doubt that this practice greatly impairs one's performance as an athlete, even over shorter periods of time, says Yepesen. Yeah, I mean, again, I can completely relate. Again, if you listen to the mastermind session, which was really like a strategy session, just a casual conversation I had with my trainer here on Noon Vibe a couple of days ago. I think it was it Monday or Wednesday? Yeah, it had to be Wednesday after I saw her at the gym. But and we didn't train that day. We trained on Monday. But when we first trained, she was telling me, yeah, your punches, you were throwing way more than 10 punches at a time, because we agreed that I'm not going to I'm not to throw any less than 10 punches and 4 kicks at a time, and with a very short time in between. So can you imagine that? I'm throwing 10 punches and then 4 kicks of any kind, and then maybe taking a 3-second break as I move around and maybe fake some defensive movements and then go right back into it again, and for 5 minutes straight, and doing that for 5 rounds with only 1 minute in between. And so what she said, she said that I was throwing more than 20 punches and 6 to 10 kicks at a time, and it was ridiculous. It was pretty much superhuman, and for some reason I got the stupid idea in my head to reduce my calories from carbs. And then when I went there, as she said, you were barely getting 8 to 10, and you were struggling to get 3 or 4 kicks in there. So yeah, it was really it really affected me. Continuing, weaker immune system. In addition to sports performance, the researchers examined the effects on athletes' immune function. Among other things, we saw that insufficient energy intake was associated with increased systemic stress. The athletes had a large increase in cortisol, a stress hormone, and a dramatically increased stress level in immune cells. This suggests that there is a quite severe impact on several aspects of the immune system if one doesn't eat enough. This may potentially contribute to athletes being more exposed to illness, says Yepesen. The researchers hope that the results of the study will help create more awareness of the phenomenon. Many coaches continue to pressure athletes to lose weight. Okay, I'm going to say something. Maybe you guys might think it's too much information here, but I was on a wrestling team in high school, and my weight class was 151, but quite often the coach would uh, have me wrestle 2 weight classes above. So you'd go 151. The next one was, I think, or no, it was 152. Then there was 160, and then there was 171. And sometimes because we didn't have enough people in the different weight classes, I would actually wrestle 2 weight classes above. So instead of me wrestling at 152, I would wrestle either at 160 or 171. I was still quite successful at doing it. But when I was wrestling at the 152 level, I had this strange habit of always going to take a poop before I would, and somehow, can you believe this? I would. It seemed like I would drop 5 pounds. Like, was I really carrying that much poop? Like I said, it may be TMI, too much information for some of you, but that was just really weird. But that was because this is one of those sports, wrestling, where you have to maintain your weight, just like in professional combat sports like MMA. You have to make. They say you got to make weight. You got to make weight. Where nowadays, if I was doing that, and which I did when I was fighting before doing kickboxing, I actually just fought at whatever weight I was comfortable. Whatever my walking around weight, whatever they called it, that's what I fought at. I wasn't attempting to drop weight for that. So I was competing at 185, 190 sometimes, because my body weight was usually around 180 pounds, so I could fight in that weight range with no problem. But continuing, so many coaches continue to pressure their athletes to lose weight. Hey, there's that word again that I just talked to Christina about, right? Lose weight. I think that it's not a good idea to use that term, because the word loss and lose is so connected with things that we usually want. Think about that. That's all I'm going to say. I mentioned it earlier, so you can listen to this again. But think about the word loss, right? You lose money. You lose lost in the stock market, you lost your pet, you lost your keys, you lost your car, you lost your shoes, you lost a loved one, right? The word loss is usually with things that we want back, so it sets up in our subconscious mind to get that back. So it subconsciously has us fighting against ourselves. There, I repeated it. Okay. For many years, it has been a part. Continuing the article. For many years, it has been part of the culture in the sports world and remains so. We need to shed light on the phenomenon and ask critically, what are we actually doing to our athletes, both physically and psychologically? Says Helston. Team Denmark. Team, team, Team Denmark to use the results. Team Denmark, the Danish elite sport organization, welcomes the new research results with open arms. It focuses on a really important topic and challenges the attitude that lighter is always better. The theory and culture remains prevalent in many sports. I experience many athletes who trim their weight in the weeks leading up to a competition, but without understanding the consequences of doing so, says Mikey Jorgensen, a sports nutritionist and manager at Team Denmark. I'm saying Mikey, it's what the heck is going on here? What's happening on the screen? Really weird. I hit something that. Okay, Mikey, because it's spelled Majke, and Jorgensen Jor Jorgensen. Because I know a little bit about the pronunciation of the Danish pronunciations here. Those J's are like Y's, and I'm just gonna say Mikey. I'm doing my best. I'm not saying that I'm so sophisticated that I know everything, but all right. So, but without understanding the consequences of doing so, says Mikey Jorgensen, a sports nutritionist and manager at Team Denmark. She sees the results as useful knowledge that can support a message that Team Denmark has been trying to promote. My experience is that elite athletes and coaches are curious, but need research that backs up any critiques of the phenomenon. Here, the fact that the test subjects are actual athletes is a major strength, so that the results can be transferred to the athletes and coaches that Team Denmark supports. We will use these results to support what we are already trying to communicate, both when we sit down with athletes one-on-one, as well as during workshops and presentations in these type of contexts, says Jorgensen. 3 days of refeeding does not help. I know that because I've been doing it for 2, and I can say it's only helped a little bit. Or at least maybe I think so. Maybe part of the psychological thing of the fact that I was filming myself, and my ego was boosting me a little bit. Ego boost. I maybe only felt like, but then I also did take a natural organic energy drink. I did drink, what is it, yerba mate, but it was from a can. It was a pre-mix that I got from Whole Foods when I was there because I was feeling a little bit sluggish. So with my pre-workout meal, which was chicken and broccoli and vegetables, veggie egg rolls that they have at their hot food bar there, I had um, I had a can of that yerba mate, which is an energetic, high caffeinated, and has other interesting phytochemicals in it type of tea. So, and that maybe, and also being filming myself, there's a combination of things. So, but this next subsection says 3 days of refeeding does not help. I had 2. After 14 days of low energy availability, they call it LEA, L-E-A, low energy availability, the athletes underwent a 3-day refeeding period as part of the trial, during which they were provided plenty to eat. We had expected that the 3 days of enough food would restore their performance and maybe even improve it, but there was absolutely no effect. Their performance was just as degraded as prior to the 3 days. This tells us that the negative effects cannot be reversed by quickly replenishing energy stores, which is a strategy used by many athletes, says Jeppesen. Women more vulnerable than men. Oh, well, see, there you go. Well, maybe that's why, right? Because that could also be a factor. See, I'm open to all the information here. And remember, the reason why this is all surprise to me, because this is a cold reading. I barely looked at the title of the article and saw some of the things it said about women and so on and so forth um, before. But this could also be a clue here why, besides the fact that I had an energy drink of the yerba mate and that my ego might have boosted some of my performance because I was recording myself. Also, it says here that women are more vulnerable than men, and I happen to be, by most uh, by most objective labels and classifications, I am a man. So, according to the research literature, men tend to be more resilient when it comes to insufficient energy intake. And there you go. Based on the rather limited research in this area, it seems that men are able to tolerate reduced energy intake before it affects us negatively. This indicates that women in particular are a vulnerable population in this respect, says Yepesen. The gender difference is partly due to the fact that low energy availability can cause a woman's estrogen levels to drop drastically. Since estrogen protects the circulatory system, muscles and bones, etc., estrogen loss has extensive effects on a woman's physiology. Helston points out that the harmful effects of not eating enough for long periods of time, especially in women, can therefore also be lifelong. All right, ladies, look out. She said it could also be lifelong. But again, uh, this article has limited research. They only used 12 women for the study. Not that it's not valid, but she says that it could be, right, and it can therefore be lifelong. So just be careful about that. So about this diet and exercise research news, the author was Ylva Helston. The source is the University of Copenhagen, and the original research comes from an uh, open source access article that is titled "Low Energy Availability Increases Immune Cell Formation of Reactive Oxygen Species and Impairs Exercise Performance in Female Endurance Athletes" by Ylva Helston and others in Redox Biology. Well, that's why it was in redox biology, because it has to do with these reactive oxygen species. Oxidative stress. Interesting. All right. So there's that, and I gave a little bit of my own experience with that. Also, Christina came up earlier and talked to me about her dietary concerns and how she wants to improve her fitness level. So thanks, Christine, for coming up and asking me those questions. And since it's here and I can hardly help myself in reading stuff, that's it for the main article. This next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the abstract from the actual research paper that came out, the abstract from it, which is attached here on neurosciencenews.com. Just that's what I do, and there might be some other things that come out to me while I'm reading it, but that's it. Basically, I don't really have much more to say about that. Just that I had an experience with some of this myself from reducing my calories. I experienced the low energy, although I seem to have bounced back a little bit more quickly. The article did address that. It could be because of I was born male and I have a lot of testosterone from being so. And the article said that women are more affected than men. Men happen to be more resilient with the calorie reduction, and that it tends to decrease estrogen, which of course has more of an effect on the physiology of women. So there's that. All right, so this is the abstract that was the basis of the article titled "Low-Calorie Diets Harm Athletes' Performance and Health" here on neurosciencenews.com. Abstract. Low energy availability increases immune cell formation of reactive oxygen species and impairs exercise performance in female endurance athletes. Introduction. The effects of low energy availability, LEA, on the immune system are poorly understood. This study examined you know what? you would think that how are the effects of low energy availability on the immune system poorly understood? I mean, with all the starvation in the world and people who are going hungry and people haven't been performing athletes in a long time, especially like I mentioned this before that at least two of my girlfriends were bodybuilders, one professional, and one of the things that they do before competition is cut weight and the things they tell me about how they feel like they're actually forcing themselves to smile and to get through the kind of posing that they have to do. It takes a hard toll on their body. They dehydrate themselves and they extremely deplete their calories. I mean, this has been going on for a long time with a lot of people, and especially people are starving, and this is still poorly understood. Man, science. I mean, they're doing a lot, scientists and researchers, but it surprises me sometimes the things that are still, where I still hear that term, that it's poorly understood. But let me get back, all right? The effects of low energy availability, LEA, on the immune system are poorly understood. This study examined the effects of 14 days of low energy availability on immune cell redox balance and inflammation at rest and in response to acute exercise. The to acute exercise and exercise performance in female athletes. Methods: 12 female endurance athletes, age 26.8 plus or minus 3.4 years, and maximum oxygen uptake, VO2 max, 55.2 plus 5.1 milligrams, milliliters times minus 1 times kilograms minus, 55.2 plus or minus 5.1 milliliters per minute. I don't understand this biology equation right here. Were included in a randomized single-blinded crossover study. They were allowed, or they were allocated to begin with either 14 days of optimal energy availability diet. Okay, so that it's calories. What did they say? That wasn't in the first equation. Okay, 52 plus 2 kilocalories per kilogram fat-free mass (FFM), or low energy. Low energy availability diet. Oh wow, it's almost half. So they went from 52 plus or minus 2 calories down to 22 plus or minus 2 calories per kilogram of fat-free mass. And the fat-free mass means their fat-free mass, so meaning their muscle and their bones. So they were able to take in, at first, the optimal energy availability. They were able to take in 52 plus or minus. It says kcal, which means kilocalories. Most of us know them as calories, though, per kilogram of fat-free mass. So, for every kilogram, they were able to take in 52 calories in the optimal, and then in um, the low energy availability, they were only able to take in 22 uh, calories per kilogram of fat-free mass. Okay, followed by 3 days of refueling, OEA, with maintained training volume. So basically, they at first 14 days they had 52 calories per kilogram of body mass, lean body mass, and then after that they had to reduce to 22 calories per kilogram of lean body mass, and then they had 3 days of refueling with maintained training volume, meaning they kept up the same training, right? So peripheral blood mononuclear cells, PBMCs, were isolated, and plasma obtained at rest before and after each dietary period. The PBMCs, peripheral blood mononuclear cells, were used for analysis of mitochondrial respiration and H2O2 emission and specific proteins. Exercise performance was assessed on cycle by a 20-minute time trial and time to exhaustion at an intensity corresponding to approximately 110% of their intensity. I'm not gonna. It's the maximum oxygen uptake or VO2 max, but that's what it was. Um, so around 100%, 10% of their intensity. The results: the low energy availability was associated with a 94% increase in the PBMCs, which that is what they were looking at, the peripheral blood mononuclear cells, NADPH, oxidase 2 protein content, and a 22% increase in systemic cortisol, which is that stress hormone they were talking about earlier. Um, Low energy availability also caused an alteration of several inflammatory related proteins. Acute exercise augmented H2O2 emission in PBMCs following both refueling and low energy availability, but to a greater extent following low energy availability. Low energy availability also reduced the mobilization of white blood cells with acute exercise. After low energy availability, performance was reduced in both exercise tests, and the reduced time trial performance remained after the 3 days of refueling. So, after low energy availability, performance was reduced in both exercise tests, and the reduced time trial performance remained after the 3 days of refueling. Okay, so this is just reiterating that the 3 days of refueling didn't improve it, but this is mainly in female athletes. So the conclusion here is 14 days of low energy availability in female athletes increased cortisol levels and had a pronounced effect on the immune system, including increased capacity for ROS production, altered plasma inflammatory proteome, and lowered exercise-induced mobilization of leukocytes. Furthermore, LEA, low energy availability, resulted in a sustained impairment in exercise performance. Okay, so that's just basically the scientific article version of the article I read earlier titled Low-Calorie Diets Harm Athletes' Performance and Health. And the just to repeat what those key points were so we can make sense of what I just read, right? Because sometimes I need to clarify this myself. But the key facts are that there was a performance drop. The low-calorie intake led to a 7.7% drop in 20-minute cycling performance. 2, there was muscle loss. The athletes lost an average of 4% body weight, half of which was muscle. And 3, immune impact. Increased stress hormone levels and immune cells stressed from low-calorie intake. So that's really what the takeaway is from here. And this comes from, once again, NeuroScienceNews.com. And you can find this article on NeuroScience News. It's titled Low-Calorie Diets Harm Athletes' Performance and Health. I actually just recently had an experience with that. And you can find that on NeuroScienceNews.com. This has been a NeuroScience News reading presented by me, the Hitman, H-I-T-A-M, Hakeem, in the morning, afternoon, and night, because I never know when I'm going to be on here, morning, afternoon, and night. This is read for World Reading Club in association with Uniquilibrium. Thanks for bouncing through or sitting a spell, everyone who's come through the room. That's Teresa Tuck, Dr. Rao. Hello, Dr. Rao. Tanya Gonzalez, Christina Akapov. Thanks for coming up and saying hello. Deborah Camus, Ashley Bell, Ashley Layden, Ann Horan, Sarah Lee, Kiona Barnes, Tina Corley, DJ Bill, Wandering Fool, hello, Derek Rudolph, Ruby Tucker, Eugenia Goodwin, Davina, hello again, Davina, Jennifer DeMarco, Cara Eberl, Tracy Lorraine, Barbara B., Karen Gistad, Bridget Rochelle, Natasha Kleinhans, Catriona Clark, Ashley Etheridge, Heather Braswell, Samantha Garner, Awapuhi Melamel, how do you say that name? That's a cool name. Jean Deering, Renee Allen, Joseph Bunch, Jennifer Sorg, Kenneth Manning, Erica Boyle, Gail King, Karen Peters Bowden, or is it Bowden? Cecilia Grace, kudos. Kristen Francis and Edward Smith. And that's all I got for you. This was Low-Calorie Diets Harm Athletes' Performance and Health. Until next time, stay well.